24th, 2019, and welcome to Real Estate Interaction and Lead Conversion. I'm Lowell Folsom III with Lowell Folsom III and Associates.
And I am Mike Jepson with the Extra Mile team.
Yes, so today we have an interesting topic I want to say. But first, let's start with mentions.
Start with mentions.
Josie, you want to say
Josie.
Thank you for your comment. Josie is always supportive.
Thank you. You are always supportive.
Yeah,
and
super
you
positive.
Like and share, and we're huge on you.
Yeah, so thank you for your wonderful comments. We appreciate it. Keep commenting. Also, we want to give a shout out to Chris. We'll call him Chris G. He's a seller that's reached out to us because he saw our video, and we went and met with him. We'll be putting the house on the market in a week or so, and so we'll keep you guys updated with that, and we'll take photos of the before and after and let you know how that goes.
Show you that. And on my side, I didn't have anything specific today other than I want to be, share that we are thankful for all of you that continue watching these videos and supporting us with feedback and interaction, and we just certainly appreciate it, and you fuel our fire to keep this going, and we look forward to hearing from more of you.
Yeah, and if you guys have not noticed yet, as you can see, we have increased our budget. We've got a new background set, so
loving it out there.
So we'll keep changing settings depending on how much money we keep making from all these videos.
Yeah.
So
bottom line,
let's get into the topic of today, and it's an interesting one. We're going to talk about appraisals, and Mike and I have had a couple appraisals, and unfortunately, we didn't get the valuation that we were hoping to get. So we'll talk about that. You want to start first, Mike?
Yeah. So it's funny. We aim to bring you relevant information from the trenches, so to speak, as we're both out there on a daily basis, working this business and working with clients and both buyers and sellers. So today, what I wanted to talk about is kind of what if you're a buyer or a seller, but specifically on the buyer side. Let's say, well, what are your options if the appraisal comes in under the contract price?
Sure.
Which we've both experienced this week.
Yes, unfortunately.
And both of them were on listings that we have, so we're not representing the buyers. But I'd say, well, what are the options that a buyer might have if the appraisal comes in low?
I mean, it's a great question, Mike. To answer that question, you really have to address a couple things. First of all, you're going to have to address the seller. Just let's say you made an offer and house was listed for $300,000. Let's say the comps in that area were $280. Let's say the seller was trying to push it. The buyer made a full price offer. Seller accepted it at $300, and the appraisal comes in at $285. So there's a $15,000 differential there. Right. So to answer your question, what do? There's a couple options. The first is, from a seller perspective, they would love for the buyer
lower the price.
From the seller perspective, right? They would love for the buyer
to step in
and write a check for $15,000
to cover the difference to meet the contract.
Correct. So on the opposite side, when a buyer gets that appraisal, he's more prone to saying, hey, listen, this is a market price. This is what I want to pay.
Sure.
So he would ask the seller to sell it for the market price. And the third I would probably say is, which I think this is more customary of what happens, we ask both of them to meet in the middle. So the seller concedes $7,500 and the buyer increases his offer they're asked to peel off a check for $7,500. What do you do, and what do you find that actually works when this happens?
That's a great question. In my experience, it really comes down to the purchase price of the home, the value of the home, and how far off are we? Because I mean, if we're a $500,000 contract and we're $10,000 off, that usually can be overcome.
Sure.
In your example, let's say you have a $300,000 property and that appraisal came in at $270,000. We're pretty far off. That's a pretty big bridge to gap, and we're really going to have to work with both the buyer and seller. And I say there's three options that you went over. the seller can lower the price to the appraised value, the buyer can bring in the difference, or we can negotiate it out between the two parties. The fourth option is the buyer can walk away.
Sure.
So if the bridge is too far, I mean, I'm going to recommend the buyer walk away and kind of go find a different property. If that's my seller, you know, we're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation because we're overpriced
Sure.
at that point, and it'd be very difficult to find another buyer to step in who's going to want to pay that price when it doesn't make sense. So,
Sure.
you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
at the
absolutely.
end of the day, it really depends on how far off that we are.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know, for the buyers out there who have went through this type of scenario, you know, maybe you're asking yourself, hey, in order for me to increase my offer or to write a check for $7,500, you know, what are some benefactors for me? Why would I do that? And
Right.
a good reason is, let's say, you know, we just have, I don't want to be disrespectful to appraisers, but somebody who just doesn't know our market. And
Correct.
so you want to look at the house. I mean, take a look at the square footage with your agent. Did the seller do some extraordinary upgrades that are warranted for you to, you know, peel off that check for $7,500? So I think those are two good indicators as to
Yeah.
why a buyer would want to continue if the seller says,
Yeah,
hey, let's
meaning
see what
that
happens.
we really at that point need to look deeply at the
Sure.
comps that the appraiser is using, because how great of comps are they? I know in my case, a recent experience I had this week, my seller put over $50,000 in upgrades into the property, and the comps that were being used didn't have upgrades. And so to me, that didn't make a lot of sense. The appraiser gave $10,000 credit to the, you know, on the appraisal
Sure.
for the upgrades that cost $50,000.
Yeah.
That's 20 cents on the dollar. So
Sure.
that to me doesn't make a lot of
Yeah.
sense. The buyer and the seller, well, the buyer may be getting a benefit in that case, but the seller certainly isn't, who spent the money on all
Sure.
of those upgrades. We can dispute an appraisal, but it really comes back on what comps do we have that
Sure.
are going to support that higher price.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you know, it's, and this is one thing that I want to hit on is, you know, Mike and I always ask ourselves, you know, what can we do different? You know, a lot of agents, you know, they'll go through the same steps, the same process, but, you know, how can we really provide additional value, but a different type of value to our sellers or our buyers? And, you know, one thing that we do when we have a listing and we're meeting an appraiser out there, just because we don't want these types of things to happen.
Exactly.
We always, doesn't matter if they take it or they don't take it, meet the appraiser out there with comps that are relative to our market, and we provide the appraiser with the additional cost of the remodel that our sellers have did.
Yep,
Now,
full upgrade list with everything they've done, because it's very difficult for an appraiser to come in 20 or 30 minutes and determine all of the upgrades that have been done. Sometimes they're not sexy upgrades. Sometimes it's not a new kitchen or bathroom. Sometimes it's electrical, it's an air conditioner, it's things that add value, but they don't even know about it.
Yeah, wow, great point. Yeah, great point. So,
That's
yeah, so that's just a little insight for everybody
Yep.
on appraisals. The point that we're making and why we bring this up is, you know, you really want to make sure that you have an experienced agent on your side, like Mike or myself, because what we do is we go to bat for you. Somebody had mentioned to me the other day, because yesterday I went to Beaumont to go show a listing that we have, and the agent's like, you go to Beaumont? You know, because it's about 45 an hour away. And I say, absolutely. And the fact is, once I commit to a seller or a buyer, or we commit to a seller or a buyer, we literally give you 100% of what it's going to take to get your home sold, or find you an extraordinary house and negotiate aggressively on your behalf. So we are out of the box.
100%.
Yeah, we are out of the box thinkers. We don't do things in a conventional manner. I mean, we pay attention to the trends and what we have to do, but let's say there's a house that's not on the market that you really want. We will go knock on that seller's door and ask that seller if they want to sell. So that's just one example of, you know, some out of the box thinking and things that we do for our clients.
Yep, that's true. We're going to turn over all stones and go create stones to turn over as well. And I think at the end of the day, when, you know, using the appraisals as an example, You know, I like to compare ourselves to flight attendants, you know, who've been on a lot of bumpy, turbulent flights, and they know that we're going to get on the ground safely.
Sure.
And an appraisal is kind of one speed bump that Lola and I both have a lot of experience with. You know, the home inspection, the appraisal, your loan approval, those are your three main contingencies. And we've been through this process over and over again, and we're here to help you and guide you, like your flight attendant, get through the turbulence and get to a successful landing, which is a closing. If you're a buyer, that's us smiling and taking pictures when we're holding your sold sign and handing you the keys. From the seller perspective, that's you meeting you at escrow to hand you a check for your equity, and then you're on your way. You're not out of our lives ever, but either you're buying another home or you're moving on, and you know, we're here to support you and get you through this process and make it as easy as possible for you, whether you're buying or selling.
Yeah, great point, Mike. So to sum it all up, you know, what we specialize in and where we are expert is we are extremely aggressive in a respectful manner when it comes to each side that we represent. If we're representing a seller, we're going to do some out-of-the-box thinking to maximize the sale. If we're representing a buyer, we're just not going to have you submit an offer. We're going to go do research, figure out why the seller's selling to get you the most lucrative price that you can absolutely get.
The best possible deal in terms that we can get for you.
Sure. So I know that I'm extremely thankful for all my clients and business, and I know you are too. So and this is episode 8, by the way. I think we forgot to say that.
Oh yeah, we did. Number 8. And thank you all.
Yeah, any clients or people or industry or business you want to thank?
Well, like I started off this morning, I just want to thank everyone really for the support, for the business, the referrals, all of those things. Please keep it coming. Myself, my team, and Lowell, and I know his team, we're all extremely appreciative and feel blessed and very thankful.
Yeah,
for
and
everything.
I know we're sorry we're taking a little time. We're trying to get it down, you know, our minutes down.
We got once a week, and we have so much to share.
Yes, I
and
know.
thank you
You'll
for
be
sticking
seeing
it through.
more of our mugs and our associates and our team's mugs on the video, especially in the future. And you know, we want you guys to come on this journey with us, and we're going to figure out how to expand these videos in the most extraordinary way, because we want to bring you very important real estate topics, facts, trends, but we also want to give you guys a glimpse of the extraordinary lifestyle that we live, because I think that they go hand in hand, and everything, our lives are attached to real estate. So you know, it's a marriage that there is no divorce, and we're going to bring you guys some exciting and wonderful content later on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That it?
yeah,
We all
that's
done?
it. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Cut.